Nobody can stop reggae.
Nobody can stop reggae.
I'm asking both William Ruto and Raila Odinga to stand up and stamp the authority on what we agree.
Mheshimiwa rafiki yangu baba Raila Odinga akipata kazi ya hiyo chairman ya AU, ni Kenya imepata ama ni Somalia? Raila Odinga ni Mkenya ama ni Msomalia? Sisi vile tunasherehekea kwa athletics kwamba Mkaleji ameshinda, sisi tutakuwa tunaangalia baba. Hata mimi nikitembea huko duniani nauliza, do you know where I come from? Do you know I can report you to Raila Odinga? Yeah, nitaenda with pride all over kwa sababu ni mmoja wetu.
Me, what I know, every patriotic Kenyan wants to look at how to improve the lives of Kenyans. Hapo ndio baba tu saingine anakuanga. Wale watu saingine wajui kuinterpret. Because ameng'ang'ana, lakini saingine hajapata, unapata he again embraces. He says the country is bigger than all of us. Na tunasukuma mbele. So hata hiyo vile mnasaidia baba kwenda AU kama serikali ya Kenya, mimi nimesema is our patriotic duty.
Tunawasihi na tunawaomba madaktari, haya mambo ya kusema ya kwa dhambi ya serikali kuu ibebwe na watu ambao kwamba wako chini, itakuwa ni dhulma.
Vyeo tumewapandisha, areas tumelipa, mishahara tumepandisha. Kwa hivyo nimewaambia mimi sitaki kujua
hii mgomo ya madaktari. Kama kuna shida, kuna shida. Mkataba ilisainiwa 2017, ezenaba wae na 2017. Hiyo makosa nitarekebisha. Na hii serikali inataka kurekebisha makosa kila mahali.
Let us summon parliament next week and bring the second supplementary budget and factor in money post the intern doctors and to promote doctors.
You are dealing with the chaps who had A minus. These are clever people than even yourself. I don't know what you got. These are people who has an opportunity not to go to a government hospital, but in the evening they go to a private hospital.
hii mambo ya madaktari is not something about just the Ministry of Health. Na wabunge mkiwa hapa, let's all join in and advise. As I stand here, I urge our doctors. Sometimes we argue as to whether it's the egg first or the hen first.
Mambo ya afya, kaa pamoja na hao kwa sababu hao ni watoto wetu, ni ndugu zetu. Ongea nao polepole, muweke mambo ikuje sawa, alafu kazi iendelee vizuri.
When we have a product which can at least help the country move forward, tunaona jama za udanganyifu tena.
Do we want to tell the Kenya Kwanza government that if they will go on by whichever means to unilaterally form the next IEBC, that IEBC will not be a Kenyan IEBC?
The Nadco report as adopted by Parliament will be implemented, and we have all the goodwill to implement that report in the manner it was passed.
They came with dangerous cards hidden under the table. And I believe they have started playing those dangerous cards in Parliament through delay and in courts through derailment that is now happening.
Hata kama ni kurudi kwa mitaa, kwa streets, tuko tayari kabisa. Lakini ijulikane sio sisi ambao tunaenda kwa kurudi kwa streets tena demonstrations. Kenya is already on the streets.
Ukileta hiyo fikra ya kugawanya chama kwa msingi ya maeneo, utasabaratisha chama. Utaka ODM ibaki vile iko, the strongest and most organized political party in East and Central Africa.
Kila wakati tunapangwa, kila mwaka tunapangwa. Hiyo tumesema haiwezekani. Lazima sisi watu wa Western Region tuanze safari yetu, tuanze kujipanga sawa sawa.
Ile mkataba bwana Weta, wewe uliweka kidole, Musali akaweka kidole, Ruto akaweka kidole, mkasema kwamba 30% ya serikali itakuwa Waluya. Iko wapi?
Right. This is what you have there on the political feel and flavor. What is happening on the ground so far? Wapi hiyo 30% ya Waluya? That is being asked there by a horrible senator there. We also see, and this is the editorial cartoon that is inside the People Daily today. Rest in peace, Mandamano victims. Who is having the last laugh? And this is the big ticket issue that we're discussing this morning on the Nadco report, where you've had also Kalonzo expressing his frustration. And here he says as well, we want them to know that we are aware of a plot. The report is now awaiting legislation, but unfortunately, their intention is to derail the implementation of the report. We cannot accept their push to exclusively select the IBC commissioners. And if they do so, then we are ready to go back to the streets. According to Kalonzo, we cannot accept their push to exclusively select the IBC commissioners, and that was the main issue here. Kalonzo, Kenya Kwanza sabotaging Nadco report. This is his frustration. I want just to rope in Tabitha Mutinda to just also give us the sentiments we've heard also from Eugene Omalo that you have some, Kenya Kwanza has some, they have some dangerous cards, as he put it, that you want to flush it right now. Is there any nefarious, insidious plot to try and derail the Nadco report from your own assessment, or this is just pure hyperbole that is coming from Azimio?
Thank you, Dubal. And I hope my mic is right. Is good right now.
We're good to go. We're good to go.
Thank you so much. And let me say that it's so sad, whereby with where we are as a country, we're still trying to waste public resources, taxpayers' money. We had a Nadco whose budget was, I think, close to 100 million for both sides, the committee. This is money that has been spent. And Nadco came as a result of the mandamano that had been taking place. Sittings were done with our very good leaders from both sides. And now as we speak, we have two leaders from Azimio who are so much on the forefront, that is Honorable Kalonzo and Eugene, who are trying to bring about so much of the ranting. We are not even seeing the other members complaining about these issues and trying to narrow it to Kenya Kwanza, whereby we are trying to sabotage. The guy who has taken, the activist who took this matter to court is one gentleman called Michael Mushemi, and these are his own views. You know, it is not a Kenya Kwanza issue. If then this is what we wanted, we would have not even advocated for a second bipartisan, knowing very well Nadco is, a second phase of bipartisan, because we had the first phase and now we concluded with the Nadco report. So then how do we have the same leaders who had an opportunity to be part of the Nadco team being out here and trying to bring about issues of the sabotage? It's very sad, it's incorrect. One Eugene refused to sign this report. So why is he still even discussing about it? He had a whole opportunity to sit through the whole process, and finally he refused to consent, he refused to sign. So why is he, again, the whole ranting? Kalonzo signed.
From his estimation, that the crux of the matter from his side was that this was a team that was solely also meant to address the cost of living.
Exactly.
Of which was not substantively captured by
and Dibal, what was he doing from the whole time? He should have resigned even much earlier, and he should stop keeping on, trying to be busybody and trying to get relevancy. At this particular time, he had an opportunity. He sat. We didn't see him even walk out. We didn't see even him complain on the same. Then he comes to bring it at the end to try and bring relevancy. Now, the other issue, Dibal, when we look at Article 81, as Senior Counsel had mentioned, and still Part E, where we talk about free and fair elections which are by secret ballot. Was the elections by secret ballot? Yes. Free from violence, intimidation, influence or corruption? Correct. Conducted by an independent body, IBC conducted. Was it transparent, and was it administered, accountable? This was in place simply because all members seated here with you this great morning today were elected from different political parties. And so we were electing from the president up and included to the bottom level of the MCA. And that's why we are in parliament today. So the process was fair. So when we start narrowing and saying, oh, it's like we're trying to sabotage not for the audit not to be done, there's nothing that worries Kenya Kwanza in regards to that. Now, I've been listening to the Azimio, and you look at where they are. Some of them are having discussions of the succession plan. If Kalonzo and Eugene would focus, first of all, with all fairness, to be able to support Baba on the AU chairmanship, then that would even be much better and appreciated. But we see them trying to lure people into saying that they are going to do maandamano. To be very honest with where Azimio is, where is the focus? The focus should be on that Baba will be able to clinch the AU chairmanship. That is where much of the focus should be on, but not seeing the Eugene and Kalonzo on trying to focus on a maandamano. That is where we are coming from. That's why we had Nadco. So why trying to entertain talks of going back and doing that? We are not even seeing them coming broadly and saying that these are the plans that they have in terms of supporting Baba and how to move forward as a coalition and all that. It's trying to take people back to the streets. And you look at even the people who have been proposed for succession of Azimio, they are not featuring anywhere. Then that still raises questions. Why is the Azimio team not even advocating and saying Kalonzo can be able to take up and lead, you know, the whole Azimio team, or even Eugene? Then there's a problem. There's what, you know, is not really coming out, because the people who have been listed or proposed, they're not featuring in these particular spaces, which leaves a lot to be desired. The division of ODM also, I know, worries them, because then it will start dividing them on regional. And I don't think Baba would be wanting that. Their strength is when, of course, they are highly united. But you see, when they start, especially the Luya region, when they start trying to bring the questions, as I can see my colleague Senator Ososi talking about where is our, you know, 30%, where is this? Then I mean, it's lost. We are a country of 42 tribes, you know, and the leadership of William Ruto is a leadership of all Kenyans. It's not a leadership. There used to be concerns of the shares that earlier were discussed by one of our leaders, and that is no longer there, because we've embraced inclusion, and that's why we are in the front line supporting Baba for the AU position. Kenyans are not ready for this maandamano. As much as I've had my good colleague Omugeni talk about that he agrees with what Eugene proposes, but he needs to know, he sat with him in the same committee, the same man sabotaged, and now they want to bring the card of going back for maandamano. Kenyans have no time for that. I've heard him talk about the maandamano in, I think, New York or Washington, if I was not wrong, or if I'm not wrong. But you cannot compare maandamano in Washington and maandamano in Kenya. People lose their property, people lose their lives, it's chaotic. You know, it's never peaceful, as much as they say constitutionally it is allowed. But they don't bring about the card that says it should be peaceful. But now, why the demonstration? When you say Eugene, also his lamentations were about the cost of living. Where is the cost of unga today as we speak? I think I saw this Easter, unga is retailing as low as 99 shillings. It is there. So what reason do they have to go to the streets? What are these subjects they want to discuss? We should be discussing the doctors' issues. A healthy nation, a wealthy nation. That's where our focus as leaders should be. And I'm liking it when I even hear leaders like Opio, who says that this is a parliamentary issue. Let us even call for a receipt and be able to do a supplementary budget. A focus for that for all Kenyans, because when you're sick, it's not about because you come from region or from this tribe. It's a collective responsibility for us. So I think the issue of Eugene and Kalonzo, it's misplaced. And if you're keen, Dibal, if you're very keen, you realize that the Azimio leaders and members, you know, and the members of parliament and all that, they are not really focusing, and they are not much responding on what Kalonzo and Eugene are bringing about. They are actually trying to refocus on how do they do the succession, and how will they be able, if Baba still will be able to lead and will not be assert that authority to somebody else, then how do they strategically manage their party? That's where their focus is highly on.
All right, let's hear from Danson Mungatana. Do you think Azimio is bereft of ideas now that they want to go back to the streets, as it were? They always say empty debe makes the loudest noise. Yeah, from your own assessment?
I wanted to make my comments on this issue about the judgment that is the subject of this topic of debate. Number one, the court's judgment, or the court, I don't know whether it was a ruling or a judgment, because it seems to be still at the interim stage. I would invite, number one, and especially because Kalonzo Musyoka is a lawyer, Eugene Wamalwa is a lawyer, I would invite them to stop being crybabies. If you have a court order that is against you and you have an interest, go to that court, file to be enjoined, and make your arguments in court. Stop being crybabies. Because coming here on TV telling us, I don't know what, and you are a whole lawyer, you know, it speaks of, you know, like you don't understand things, or you are pretending that you don't understand things. When the affordable housing bill was taken to court, we went and fought it out. When the finance bill was taken to court, we had an interest, we went and fought out. It was activists who filed those petitions and the court actions. We didn't sit out and start making noise outside. We said we will challenge, and we fought our way. So I am asking Kalonzo Musyoka, Eugene Wamalwa, and any person who thinks that judgment is against them, like we fought for the others, affordable housing, finance bill, they should go and make their voices known. That's number one. Number two, Eugene Wamalwa should be the last person talking about this Nadco report. He never signed it. He never supported it. He showed ill will, you know, because that report was encompassing many things. You don't have to agree with everything, but you are part of the team. He is the last person who should be on TV talking about taking action if the report is not. You didn't support the report. This is the what you call the lack of truthfulness that Kenyans, they lose hope in leaders because of this kind of thing. Here you are not supporting, here you are supporting, here you are supporting, you are not supporting. So where are you? So that has made me think the less of him. You see? Now,
but if it's not in agreement to some...
You see, you can always, you can always create what we call a minority report if you are not agreeing, so that you say, I agree with this and this I don't agree. But you can't, you didn't sign. You know, you abandoned
so if
your
you have
colleagues.
That minority report, you append your signature, you alone? Because
you say, Otiendo Amule will tell you about minority report, what he did. But you actually come and say, I don't agree with this and that, but I agree with this. You see, he didn't do that. So for me, point number two, Eugene is the last person we should be listening to in this Nadco issue. Number three, there is an argument that Kenya Kwanza has ill will towards the implementation of this report. I want to invite colleagues here on the table and those who think this way, that we have appointed, in accordance with that report, we have appointed the team of 3 people that were supposed to help in the audit of the last electoral processes that took place in the last election. Okay, so that is a sign of goodwill. Okay, so someone to say that we don't have goodwill, that is wrong. Number two, we have published the bills, okay, that are supposed to be part and parcels of the recommendation. Kimani Ichung'wah, the majority leader in the National Assembly, has said, in fact, we have published the bill the IEBC bill, the amendment bill, and it's supposed to come for discussion. So sometimes I think leaders should just be honest, you know. Don't blame a court action by an activist to be a problem that, you know, if you're having issues there, go to court. Don't say it is us who sat and planned that court action. You know, at the same time, engage where you see there's a problem. Engage with that court. Don't come here. And then, finally, I think it is very wrong to threaten people. You know, you're going to take mass action. You're going to do what. You remember, in those streets, we also have our own people. You know, so people don't have the monopoly of supporters in the streets. But what we don't want is a situation where you are looking for solutions where there are no solutions. If your issue is the court, go to that court. If your issue is the implementation of the report, the implementation has started. They appointed Attorney General Wako and the others. We appointed Dr. Linda Musumba and the others. We also published the bills. So where is the problem? So I would urge a little bit of honesty. And then I would urge our colleagues on the other side to also look at the facts when they are making those accusations. Kenya Kwanza has no interest in sabotaging this report. We had a parliamentary group meeting where our leader, the president, said, we are going to support the Nadco report, despite some of us having issues with some of the recommendations. We agreed at the parliamentary group meeting that we are going to support, and we did. When it came to Senate, we passed it. At the National Assembly, it was passed. So let us be honest sometimes. It's not always politics. And I understand, though, what Kalonzo is trying to do. He's trying to position himself as the leader. He's trying to position himself as the person who should inherit the mantle in case Raila goes to IEBC, to African Union. My free advice, which he doesn't have to take, is that please stop, and I am urging again, stop pretending to be Raila. Invent your own style, you know, and you will still succeed. Raila's style is different from you. Do your own thing. Look, Mwai Kibaki had a different style, and he became president. Moi had his own style, he became president. Uhuru Kenyatta had his own style, he became president. William Ruto had his own style. Don't imitate people and hope that people will support you because you're imitating Raila. You know, create your own persona. Don't try to be somebody else, Mr. Kalonzo Musyoka. Just be yourself. If you want leadership, create your own persona and let people follow that. Don't try to recreate Raila Odinga. Maybe the streets are not the way you will ascend to power. You know, maybe the streets are the way that somebody else will do.
Would it be unfair for you to say?
I'm saying that is what he's doing.
He was part of the Azimio demonstration as well.
He see, when the
go-getting.
He is trying. Look at my argument. He is trying to do what Raila did. You know, he is trying to appear to be the heir apparent. He's not pushing for what is supposed to be there because he knows that if it's a court issue, he should go to court. So when he's coming up to say, we will go to the streets, he's just trying to behave like what the ODM leader was doing. So my free advice, which by the way he doesn't have to take, be your own man. Create your own persona, create your own style. If Kenyans agree with you, they will vote for you. If they don't, you just be a leader on the opposition on the other side. Create your own style. That's the way to do things. You don't have to imitate people.
Thank you.
That's what I have to say.
Right. Otelia Amolo, what do you think about also this? Because time also is running down on you. We have 45 days. I think the clock is still tick-tocking. The last time I checked, how does this affect the entire process? Do you agree also with the sentiments that are being forwarded here by Mugatana that we should have a minority report? That is what Eugene Omala should have come up with in the first place. Kalonzo also should know and be all the wiser. The protest should not be, or his protestation should not be on the television, right? But he should go to the courts.
Let's start with that, because I didn't comment on it, that cartoon on the protest.
Yes.
So that we put it in context. You know, when you have a cartoon like that, and it indicates rest in peace, Maandamano victims, who is having the last laugh, it demonstrates how unfortunate and low we've sunk. Because it suggests that the regime of the day is laughing at its own citizens who are injured by the police. That should not be a source of pride by anyone. That should be a source of apology and correction. First, as long as Article 37 remains in our books, in the Constitution, then anyone and everyone has a right, once you notify the police, to demonstrate, protest, and picket. The fact that the police killed and injured Kenyans is one that, whether one goes to court or not, should invite a serious apology from this regime. Because when you say who's laughing last, then it means it's the government of the day that is laughing as its citizens. Secondly, it should be remembered that the right to protest has just gotten a fresh impetus. Only 10 days ago, Justice Mohochi, sitting in Nakuru, actually declared those charges of subversion as unconstitutional. All those who had been arrested, during the protest and they were charged with the subversion, it was all struck out as unconstitutional, which reinforces the right to protest and demonstrate. So anyone who is interested in protesting or demonstrating, it is their right, as long as they notify the police, as long as it is peaceful. And if they cannot raise the quorum for it to be a protest of note, that's a different problem. So I think it's within everyone's right, even the doctors right now as they are, to demonstrate. But no one should think that Kenyans have forgotten the ills visited by the police. Only last month, the IMLU report, which we had been waiting for, was released, and it confirmed that 67 Kenyans were killed by the police during demonstrations. A total of 296 suffered serious injuries during the total of 17 protest points. It's a 53-page document, and it's part of what was being waited for by the team. The time within which you can sue government for this kind of action is actually 3 years. And to sue for death caused by the police and injuries caused by the police is not an easy thing, because usually you require the police themselves to document those things. Even when you take the P3 form, you must go to the police doctor. So it takes a lot more than other ordinary suits. To the best of my knowledge, there's a team that is still compiling, and it is within time, and it will be suing, for those deaths. It may not be all of them, at least the ones that can be, demonstrated and clearly, and the injuries, including a gentleman from my constituency who, to date, is stuck with a bullet in his lungs, And so those suits will be coming. Anyone sitting pretty thinking that, that those today. Cases, till today as I speak, because it is so delicately lodged that it cannot be removed, So the suits, I am sure, are coming, and anyone celebrating will be celebrating too soon. Now, separately, on the Nadco report, the first problem, which is why sometimes I've been questioning whether there's absolute good faith. Mm-hmm. You see, the report was finalized, of course signed by most of them, I think except Wamalwa. For some reason, it took 4 months to bring that report to Parliament. Why would it take 4 months? And I asked that when we were debating the report on the floor of Parliament. Given the urgency that we know, including the urgency in appointing the ABC Commission, why would it take 4 months? Was there good faith, Number two, once we adopted it, and it was committed to the joint committees, and we were given 45 days, For some reason, we are past the halfway mark. I think it's taken about 26 days now, yeah, of the 45. And we have not seen any action. And you see, it depends on the joint chairs, both of whom are in the Kenya Kwanza regime. And the majority in both committees are also from the Kenya Kwanza regime. Thirdly, an interpretation that is curious, but we are yet to discuss. I don't know what my other colleagues will make of it. I saw an interpretation by my chairman indicating that the 45 days was actually meant 45 sitting days. Now, if you are to have such an interpretation, then you would be referring to the number of sitting days in a week, which usually are 3. Then you'd also have to remove the period of the recess. If you go that way, you find in a month, you actually only have 12 sitting days. And if you remove the recess, an interpretation for the 45 days would easily bring you to between 4 and 5 months. Mm-hmm. An interpretation such as that is one that suggests that there is no hurry and there is no intention to deal with it. And that's why some of us are worried. It's not that the whole report is necessarily perfect. I actually think that there's a lot of intense discussion to be had on some of those proposals, very intense, including the questions of a referendum. But the point is, we need to have those discussions at the earliest. We need to have the discussion on what is recommended in terms even of increasing the number of women seat by 55, whether Kenyans are prepared, to
the extra burden.
Yes, to deal with that burden. There are many, but the point is we need to have that discussion sooner so we get it out of the way. But the two things that are most urgent, first is constitution of the IBC commissioners in a bipartisan manner. Secondly is agreement to amend the constitution so that, especially Article 89, so that we can extend the time within which you can do delimitation of boundaries, because that period has passed. The last time it was done was on 6th March 2012. And it is to be done between 8 and 12 years, which means we already passed that. So the sooner we remedy that, the better. Is it true that you could have a minority report? Yes, of course you can. A number of options were open. For us, in the first Nadco team, when it became clear to us that the Kenya Kwanza side was not interested in joining talks, we decided and we recommended to our principal to disband the team, and we walked away. So there's option always of walking away. Secondly, there's always the option of having a minority report, just expressing your displeasure. But refusing to sign is also another alternative. Mm-hmm. You can choose to say that you are not in agreement and therefore you are not signing. And as far as I understand, the protestation by Wamalwa, it is not that he was in disagreement with what the report contained, but his protestation was that there are others which should have been contained in the report, especially relating to the cost of living, which was not included. And therefore you cannot fault him for saying that what's in the report is not being recommended, is not being implemented. His issue was the team should have gone further and addressed the question of the cost of living. Is it true that this gentleman who went to court just went on his own, and as Senator Mungatana says, that therefore anyone who feels aggrieved should be able to go to court? You see, to throw that back to us demonstrates just the point we are making. And 2 points to be noted. One, except for seasoned litigators, people like Okia Umtata and all that, anytime you see a name that does not ring a bell going to court, know someone has sent them. And someone has definitely sent them. That's for sure. But the more important thing is, if indeed it's true that the Kenya Kwanza is as concerned about implementation Nadco as everyone else is, then why would they say that anyone who feels aggrieved should go to court? You'd have thought they would be saying they have already instructed their lawyers to go to court and challenge that, as they did with all other instances, affordable housing, social health insurance, every other instance where they are aggrieved, they are really very quick to send their lawyers, including the Attorney General, to challenge. Why are they saying for this one, anyone who's aggrieved should go to court, which means they are not aggrieved. And that then underscores the very point we are making, that it may not appear that there's, good faith at the end of the day. It does appear that this whole process may have just been a process of convenience.
Right. Let's hear from Congo Mogini. Before we even ask or hear your comment, I wanted you to also piggyback on what Otenda Molo is talking about, the demonstrations, because recently we also saw a very interesting editorial cartoon where we have the 11th commandment. The director may just pick it up there. It says, thou shalt not heckle, especially in Kenya Kwanza strongholds. Now that you're thinking about going for demonstration heckling, and we've seen so far with this heckling, 2 people have been arrested. This is in light of what was happening in Bomet, where the president was being heckled by some of the supporters of people say that were sent by opponents, or it's clanism that is playing out within the Kalenjin community. So this is the 11th commandment. First of all, was this particular arrest legal, and on what law are they charging these 2 people when it comes to heckling? Is it not your lordly right to...
First, I'm happy, that these things are happening in Meru, they're happening in Kericho, because the story used to be that it is ODM that has mastered the art of heckling, shouting at president. But now you've seen it happening at the strongholds of the president. And all I can say, and I know some of my panelists may not agree, that's just a reflection of the dissatisfaction that Kenyans have on the ground. And I once said in this show that as a president, you're going to be careful how you want to engage people. If you are coming out to meet people, oftentimes, you devalue the seat of presidency. A president is like a currency. If you throw it out there so much, it gets devalued. So Kenyans are now seeing president as just one of their own, He's out there with them day in, day out. He comes to a region, gives promises, doesn't fulfill them. He goes back, comes again. So it's just a reflection on what's happening on the ground. But the bigger picture, Dibali, is when a regime, if the signs of a regime that is collapsing is when you get very restless with Kenyans who are trying to air their views freely and exercising their constitutional right. You saw what happened to this young man in Senegal, Diomaye Faye. I think he was arrested on a drummed-up charge of spreading rumors against the sitting president. Just like what I'm seeing there, somebody telling a young person that we are arresting you because you heckled at the president. I don't know whether there is any court of law that can sustain such a... It looks laughable, and I hope the DPP will, at the opportune time, review that file with a view of entering an ole prosecution. During the regime of President Kenyatta, the NAT chairman, Nyamira Branch, was arrested, for making a... he just made a statement that Uhuru Kenyatta is not able to solve our problems because he smokes too much, And the DCI picked him. I was his lawyer in court. And the charge was that he's making alarming statements against a sitting president. And when we went to court, he said, the first witness we need is Uhuru Kenyatta to come and confirm whether he indeed smokes. And Tobuko was a DPP then, just wrote to me and said, Counsel, I will quietly withdraw those charges. There are some charges that you look bad when you prefer them against a Kenyan, like what I'm seeing there. When people come to a political rally, there are those who may not like what you say. Some will keep quiet, smile at you. There was a church minister who was telling me last weekend that, as we are waiting for this president to come here, when he'll be saying, Bwana asifiwe, we'll just look at him. Because we'll be looking at the promises he made to people, promises remain unfulfilled to date, and you just look at him. That's a way of registering they are discontent with their leader. Others will come there, when you talk to them, they'll tell you, hapana, wewe unadanganya. Are you going to arrest all of them? That's not the way to go. And what is causing a lot of discomfort, like what you're hearing from my friends here about demonstrations. Dibali, if Kalonzo or Raila Odinga asked Kenyans to come out of the streets, you'll see the numbers that will come out responding to that urge. And what amazes me is that some of us who are lawyers don't want to appreciate that Article 37 was put in the Constitution so that Kenyans can exercise that right. It's not a criminal. You can't come to this show and try to paint Kalonzo in bad light simply because he's saying, I'm going to tell Kenyans to come to the streets. As we speak today, if you go to our respective counties, you will find doctors who are out in the streets. You will find clinical officers who are out in the streets exercising their constitutional right of registering their protestation against the regime of the day. You're not going to say that that's not the way you seek a solution to a problem. Part of the way you register your protestation is coming out to the streets and demonstrating. So that's a right that Kenyans will continue to enjoy as long as we are a democracy and as long as we are a country that respects constitutionalism. What happened in Senegal should remind any sitting president that you are in office for a season. You are in office for a limited time. Faye was detained, I think, 1 year ago. Sonko was jailed for trumped-up charges. You know, the opposition candidate who, in fact, would have been the flag bearer for the opposition in Senegal. But you saw what the people did. The people responded to the actions of the sitting regime, saying if you are arresting people who are advocating for our issues, the people who are coming out to speak on us, the voiceless, will overwhelmingly vote them into office. And they received 61%, the candidate Faye received over 61% of the vote in Senegal, unprecedented. So I want to advise my good friend Mugatana. Kalonzo Musyoka is a lawyer. When he says he will ask Kenyans to come out to demonstrate, he knows that Article 37 is in the Constitution, and he doesn't need the advice of any of us to tell him that Article 37 is still live. It has not been struck off the statute books of our Constitution. And if he wants to use that as a mechanism of rallying Kenyans against issues that UDA is unable to resolve, so be it. And it's good for him to feature in this forum. When you see people speaking, focusing on a leader, it seems they are taking attention that there is a new kid in the block in the opposition called Kalonzo, which is good for him. If it was an entity, I can tell you, Dibal, nobody will care to address Kalonzo Musyoka.
He's a new kid with old tricks, so he has nothing new up his collective sleeves, according to listening to
And you know, when we're talking about him trying to emulate Raila Odinga, last time we had demonstrations, Kalonzo Musyoka was in the streets. He was with the Baba in the streets. So he's not trying to reinvent the wheel. He has been there. And if he goes back to the streets, it's something that he has done before, and he's doing it on behalf of Kenyans, especially now that there was that screaming headline from Taifa saying bunge imekufa. If bunge is dead, what do you want Kenyans to do? Kama bunge limeenda, unataka Wakenya watadu nini?
Tujipange. Jipangeni.
Yeah.
All right. Let's come to Tabitha. And I have a couple of issues also, just to looking at the editorial cartoons. Maybe they can tell us, first of all, because it seems we are from one crisis to the other, right? This is now Mithika Linturi, who is the CS of agriculture right now. His foot is in the mouth. Lately, he said he was totally denying there is no fake fertilizer. And you can see how it has really raised uproar, especially on the ground right now. We have legislators who are calling for resignation of the CS. We have the health crisis that we are talking about. And this seems to be now the Ministry of Health teetering, actually, is going over the cliff. We have, of course, we were looking at that. We have also the Nadco report that is in a crisis. There's so many fires that the Kenya Kwanza administration is trying to put out right now that it seems now they are expert fire engines and firefighters, because everything, when you look around, there's so many issues that needs to be addressed. First of all, coming to fertilizer, I don't know where I was reading is it Eugene Wamalwa was saying this should be taken like a capital offense, that this is a very egregious violation of people's rights, tampering with their food security at the end of the day. I mean, this is a height of impunity that you've never seen. Why shouldn't CS Linturi not resign?
Before I comment on the issue of the fertilizer, just touch on the issue of the heckling that my colleagues have been able to discuss.
Is it a delaying tactics? You know, sometimes also in debates when you hear people allow me so that I touch on the issue, is a deflection.
No, I wanted just to, you allow me to tell Kenyans also that, of course, our colleagues from the opposition will try and put it in such a way that it's the president being heckled because of the promises and all that. But the real fact on the ground is that you look at the two counties, that is Meru County and also the Bomet County, we've had issues whereby the governors have issues with their members of parliament. And so it has been a supremacy of when the president is on the ground, especially on our strongholds, then who is superior? Those have been the issues. And actually, you'll find it not really reoccurring because the advice has been then let the president, be able to take his platform without giving these members so much airtime, and then they have their issues and they want to eye on their issues by trying to, show who is more superior within those grounds. So the issues are more between the members and the governors. That's where the war is, and it has been out there so much in the public. You've seen how Meru have had issues with the governor and the members of parliament, same case. So that's what I just wanted to put across because they brought it a bit differently. And causing disturbance is also contrary to Penal Code 95.1 of the Section 95.1 of the Penal Code. So that is clear, and you can be arrested for that. Now, back on the issue of the fake fertilizer. I've always looked at it differently as a student of business in regards to management skills. When we have fake fertilizer, does it mean that the CS should resign? Is that the solution? Is that the solution also when things are good, when we were able to reduce the price of fertilizer from the 7,000 to 2,500? Then why did we not say the same, that the CS should resign? Why is it when there's an issue? What is important is, and I advocate for these cartels to be brought to book, to face the full justice, because from where I sit, it's a cartel that is trying to paint the government in a negative way. They have been given an opportunity to be able to supply. These people who are suppliers are also known by NCPB because, of course, like any supply process, there is documentation, there is paperwork. What needs to be brought to light is that who supplied this particular quantity at this particular time, what they supply, and that verification should be done so that they are highlighted. What is happening in the issues that we've seen, and I'm happy that it has actually been brought to light, the CS has been on the forefront saying that this should not be happening, this is not the case, and they have embarked on the regions that have been mostly affected with the help of the police and the NCPB management to be able to bring these people to book. We are waiting, we are looking forward because we do not agree with it. What was the point of the president ensuring that we achieve one of our manifestos of food security by lowering the price of the fertilizer and then sitting back and allowing unscrupulous cartels trying to sabotage the whole process by allowing this fake product to be in the market. It is wrong. So I think that the CS is on the front line. We need to give him time to be able to bring these people to book. And you see, the president has the CSs as the executive. It does not mean that everything the president should be speaking to. We need to give the executive time, we need to give the ministry time in conjunction with the other stakeholders to be able to bring the true picture of things. And from where I sit, totally this is just sabotaged by a few cartels who want Kenya Kwanza to be painted negatively, such that the suppliers, are known and all that. So it is fair. Our law says you are innocent until proven guilty. It is fair that we give the ministry enough and ample time to be able to bring these people to light. I want to also ask Kenyans who have been, who have been able to buy this fertilizer and realize it's fake, should not even pour it out, should not throw it away. Let it be kept as true evidence when this case will be undergoing. I'm happy because also our Committee of Agriculture in Senate, led by one of our colleague senators, Senator Murango, is up to task. He has been out there also advocating that these people should be brought to book. And that's what we want, because if then that is not going to happen, of course, then we're going to get into another crisis of the food security factor. That's not where we want to go. But we are happy, you're priding in the fact
it brings
that
to question, if I may just butt in,
Yes.
of the entire procurement process, that it should have been rigorously done before these suppliers were shortlisted and given the tenders to supply this fertilizer.
But
because, yes, we question how did they have the capacity in the first place? Was there any supplier visitation that was done by the government to make sure that at least even in their go-downs they have the germane, kosher fertilizer that should be in the market? Because now farmers are crying for compensation, right? This is a question that has been put on the table, right? Will they be compensated? And if at all the CS is the one who's coming and say there's no fake fertilizer, then what we have is substandard fertilizer. How then do we differentiate fake and substandard? Because if I buy this phone and say it's a Philip, for instance, just using, and then the name is Philip. As you can see, maybe some radios are called Philip, which is an imitation, and there is Philips. So is a Philip a substandard or is a fake? That's the thing that we need to know. First of all, the procurement process seems to have been flawed. It was not done according to the procurement rules. There was no supplier visitation. There was no capacity that was verified from the ministry if they could really supply this. That's why we have people digging, quarries there, getting some, was it even fluorspar or some other elements that I think are even detrimental and harmful to the public health.
Dibal, on the issue of suppliers being vetted, like any tendering process or procurement process, of course those procedures were adhered to. What you need to note, what I'm highlighting, is sabotage, whereby one has been able to be given an opportunity to supply, but because they have their ill motives, then they sabotage by still supplying what is needed to be supplied correctly, and in the middle of it, in the mix of it, also supplying what is substandard, what is not as per the KEBS standards. So either fake or substandard, it is not within the standard of KEBS. So it is not allowed. It is fake. It is unsubstandard. So there's no question of it.
KEBS, NCPB.
No, KEBS have done their part. Dibal, get my point. KEBS have done their part. They've set the standards. Procurement process has been done. The vetting and everything has been done. Now, what has happened is that within the same suppliers, some suppliers have decided to go wrong and supply what is not correct, yet they know the standards that need to be adhered to. They have decided to sabotage that. So what we are talking about, or what I'm saying, is that there is a sabotage by the same suppliers. And these are the things that we are saying that the CS should be able to bring them to book, should be able to bring them to light. On the issue of compensation, the farmers should be compensated. And who should compensate? Of course, through the same process that they were able to get the same supplies. So the chain needs to go back to this to bring out the suppliers who sabotage the process, whereby then the farmers ended up buying the fake fertilizer. So these unscrupulous suppliers should be the ones to be allowed to compensate the same farmers, and that will be sorted. So it's an issue of sabotage by these suppliers. So it's not an issue that KEBS have not done their part. No, the standard has been there. And remember, Dibal, this issue, we are in the month of April. This issue has come to light last month, I think from month of March, just recently. It has not been there. The supply has been okay, it has been moving well and all that. And back to the issue of the companies, that one of the companies we saw in Nakuru, what was highlighted in the one of the channels, I think called Uncensored, you see that there is this soil, but I don't think it is complete, because in my bit of trying to look into it, it's like it's a process of also mixing with the other components that form the fertilizer. So was this done halfway to try and highlight and bring something negative to the public, worry farmers who have we've seen how they've been really appreciating the subsidized fertilizer, how they've come out and appreciated the maximum yields that they've been able to produce within the period and all that. So when you look at it, it's just simply sabotage that is being brought to light. But we ask the CS to speed up these investigations and bring this book people to book.
Right. I think we should take a short break. When we circle back, we'll come back with you as well. We continue with the latest development, as we can see, trying to put out, or every day we are waiting for the other shoe to drop. We have the fertilizer scandal. We have also the car accident that are ongoing. As we talk about even the accidents, we have one student of Chavakali High School who has passed on right now. We're given to understand from a gory accident that happened yesterday as we're coming from Nairobi, actually coming from Kisumu towards Nairobi, and that bus, which is the Easy Coach bus they had overturned, and one student has passed on so far. But before we even go, I just wanted to highlight, this is also on the table that we shall be discussing, because there's a new bill which is strongly disputed by the Public Service Commission, I should say, among other changes that seeks to grant the Attorney General's office autonomy to hire the Solicitor General. The Statute Law Miscellaneous Amendment Bill number 68 of 2023 seeks to remove also inconsistencies in the operational framework of AG's office in line with Article 156 of the Constitution that establishes it as an independent office. The bill makes changes to 17 laws, which include the Office of the Attorney General Act 2012. It establishes an advisory board chaired by the AG that will replace the Public Service Commission in the employment of staff. The proposed advisory board will consist of only 6 members with only 2 advocates, namely the Attorney General and the President of the Law Society of Kenya. We shall be looking at that as well when we circle back from the short break. You're watching Siasa Fiesta here on Morning Prime. Don't go away.